Hello and welcome to tonight's council meeting for Glenorchy City Council on Monday the 27th of April 2020. I'd like to begin tonight's council meeting by acknowledging the Tasmanian Aboriginal community as the original, traditional and continuing custodians of the land that we're gathering on tonight in our many homes, and pay my respect to their elders past, present and emerging. Tonight we're streaming our council meeting live to Facebook. Fingers crossed that technology and Facebook is our friend tonight, but we welcome you all who might be watching us tonight. Because we want our community to have confidence that all aldermen have the opportunity to actively participate in tonight's council meeting, I'll make sure that every alderman has the opportunity to speak on every item and also make sure that their vote is very clearly indicated. I'll do this by asking each alderman around the council table to, if they'd like to speak, and then also to indicate their voting intention as well. We'll do that in the order that they would normally sit around our council chamber. It will take a little time, but I think it's important to maintain that confidence in the process of our council meeting. Virtually attendance today, we have a number of people, and I'm going to go through to make sure that they're all here. If we can perhaps check in on the alderman first of all, I'll start off with Alderman Bull. Are you present today?
Present.
Thank you, Alderman Bull. Alderman Ryan.
Present.
Thank you. Alderman Dunsby.
Yes, I'm here.
Alderman King.
Present and accounted for.
Deputy Mayor Thomas. Myself, Mayor Johnson's here. Alderman Richardson.
Yes, present.
Thank you. Alderman Fraser.
Yes, I'm here.
And Alderman Sims.
Yeah.
Thank you. We have an apology tonight from Alderman Carlton as well. We also have online with us tonight the General Manager, Tony McMullen, and our directors, the Manager of Finance and ICT, and also our Manager of Property, Environment and Waste. Physically present tonight, keeping the appropriate social distances, is myself, Mayor Christy Johnson, and also our Council's Executive Officer who's providing support for our meeting tonight. So we'll move right on. As I said, we have an apology from Alderman Carlton tonight. So we'll move on to item 2, which is confirmation of the minutes of the open meeting held on the 30th of March 2020. Can I ask for an alderman, please, to move the motion? Do I have an alderman to move the motion, please?
Alderman moved, Alderman King.
Thank you. Moved Alderman Bull and seconded by Alderman King. Is there any discussion of the motion?
Yes, I'd like to. Alderman Richardson.
Yes, Alderman Richardson.
I'd like to just mention that the minutes are incomplete, and there's also no record of my leaving the meeting due to a conflict of interest with item 12.
We might need to clarify that, so we might need to defer the item then until the following council meeting. Could I have perhaps someone then move that we defer that to make sure we can double check the record of the minutes there, please?
I'm happy to move that.
Thank you. Moved Alderman Richardson. Do I have someone to second that motion, please?
Alderman Bull.
Thank you, Alderman Bull. If there's no further discussion on that motion, I will put the motion to the vote. That's to defer the confirmation of the minutes for the open council meeting, the 30th of March, until the next council meeting, ordinary council meeting. If I can go around the table, we'll ask Alderman Bull, for or against?
For.
Alderman Ryan?
For.
Alderman Dunsby?
For.
Alderman King?
For.
Deputy Mayor Thomas?
For.
Mayor Johnston is for. Alderman Richardson?
I move, yes.
So for. Mayor Fraser?
For.
Sorry, Mayor Fraser. Alderman Fraser. Alderman Sims?
For.
Thank you. The motion is carried unanimously. We'll move along then to announcements by the Chair. I do have a couple tonight regarding announcements by the Chair. Firstly, I'd like to say thank you to our community for doing an excellent job over the Easter period by staying at home. It has made a huge difference to the safety of our community, and I really do appreciate everyone's efforts on that path. Whilst there hasn't been a new case in the South for some time now, we cannot be complacent. The message of staying at home, saving lives, is just as important now as it was a couple of weeks ago. We really need to be on top of this, and complacency is not what we want at this particular point in time. So continue the good work that you're doing all at home and only make those essential trips where necessary. It's also really important that we stay connected at this time. So whilst we're all bunkered down in our homes, it's really important that we stay connected with our friends and family. And there are lots of different ways we can do this, online in particular. So make sure you do it regularly and keep in touch. It's very important. Don't know about you, but I'm also learning a lot of new skills in the virtual world at the moment. I'm getting a lot of jobs done around the house and spending more family time with my family as well, which is fantastic. We're really keen at Council to see how you're coping during this time and to share your tips and tricks with everyone in our community. So if you have a short video, a 3 to 5 second video or a message, please feel free to send it through to together@gcc.tas.gov.au. We'd like to put a compilation of them together to share with our community. It might be as simple as showing a video of you reading. It might be that you're playing a game around the family. It might be that you're doing something fun and interesting to try and keep yourself sane during this time of isolation. But we'd love to share those tips and tricks with our community. Finally, I'd also like to acknowledge that on Saturday we had Anzac Day. It was a very different Anzac Day for our community and tough for many. And I think probably a lot of people, particularly our returned servicemen and women, found it very difficult that we weren't able to commemorate in the normal way that we would. But I want to say how proud I was that even though we couldn't come together physically as a community, we did so in all our driveways right across the municipality. When I got up at dawn and went to the end of my driveway, I could see a number of people out in the street and in the surrounding area standing there with their candles, having a candle vigil. I could hear the last post being played, and I think it was amazing that so many people participated in this way to show their respects. Year on year, when we normally have a service, we see so many people coming together and our numbers of people attending increase every year. But I think this year, if you were to add up all those people who stood in their driveways and paid their respects in a different way, you'd find that the attendance had grown again this year. So thank you very much for those people who participated in that different way to commemorate Anzac Day. We must never forget the sacrifice that so many people made for us. And in fact, I think it's timely at this very difficult time to remember that we are indeed very lucky to be living in this country. We will remember them lest we forget. That covers my announcements by the Chair. Item 4 is pecuniary interest notification. Do any aldermen have a pecuniary interest on tonight's agenda?
Alderman Fraser, I have, it's not a pecuniary interest, but a conflict of interest relating to item 10, disposal of land, 671 Main Road, Berrydale.
Thank you very much, Alderman Fraser. We shall note that down, that it was not a pecuniary interest, but a conflict of interest. Thank you. Any other alderman? No? Item 5, response to previous public questions taken on notice. As our last meeting on the 30th of March was our very first online council meeting, and indeed a first for Tasmania, there was an opportunity for public question time, so there have been none recorded there. We'll move on to item 6, public question time. We have received a lot of public questions, which is fantastic to see our community engaging with our council in regards to public question time. We had so many received. In fact, we still received them about an hour or so ago. Unfortunately, if we were to read them all out, we probably will still be here to midnight, if not next week. But we will make sure that the questions and the answers are up on our Facebook page on our website to ensure that people can actually receive their questions asked and the answers provided. We'll do that as soon as possible. Thank you very much. I've just had confirmation that they are actually up now on our website as well. So you can go and have a look at those in your own time. But certainly we thank you for your questions and acknowledge that there are so many of them, and it's great to see people participating. Item 7, petitions and deputations. General Manager, do we have any petitions or deputations?
Okay.
Thank you very much, General Manager. We move on then to item 8, recreation and play infrastructure projects update. Do I have someone to move this item, please? Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Seconded?
Alderman Richardson.
Thank you, Alderman Richardson. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Pleasing to note this update. We did have an update on the progress towards the infrastructure, play spaces and recreation infrastructure at our last meeting. So it's great that we are getting these regular updates on progress, and great to see the progress that's been made to date. These are certainly progressing very quickly. So as the court notes, we had some public consultation recently on the play space design. The design of the play space is called Giblin Reserve at Goodwood and Montrose Bay foreshore for the playgrounds. We had face-to-face consultations before the current restrictions were in place, and also the opportunity for people to comment, provide their ideas and feedback relevant stakeholders there, and it's great that to have the update that the federal government has confirmed the split of the funds, 70-30 of the $12.8 million to be spread across Oval facility development and also for improvements to KG5. So I'm very happy to move this update and look forward to the continued progress.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. I'll go around the table and ask Aldermen if they wish to speak on this item. Alderman Bull.
No, I'm more than happy with the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Bull. Alderman Ryan.
No.
Thank you, Alderman Ryan. Alderman Dunsby.
Thank you. I'm really excited to see the diversity in the sporting cuts be supported through this project, and once it's all finished, it'll be a great outcome for our community.
Thank you, Alderman Dunsby. Alderman King.
No, thank you, Mayor. It's fine.
Myself, Mayor Johnston. Alderman Richardson.
Yes, I just have a question here regarding the 12.8 grant, which has been divided into two parts. The department has agreed in principle, but it's my understanding that the agreement hasn't been signed off, and there's been a delay with that. Does that suggest there's some complication with the agreement?
I can certainly provide a response to that one, Alderman Richardson. I've been heavily involved in this, and I know that General Manager will jump in if need be, or the Director or Manager in this area. So certainly we've received confirmation in principle of them supporting the split in the particular grant, but we're just negotiating at the moment the deed. So that should be coming in the next few weeks. There certainly doesn't seem to be an issue with that coming through. It's just a matter of timing, and we're waiting for the federal government to process that paperwork.
So it's just a processing delay.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Anything further, Alderman Richardson?
No, nothing further.
Alderman Fraser.
No, nothing further.
Thank you, Alderman Fraser. Alderman Sims.
Yes, just that it's really refreshing to see that this is still moving along and progressing. It's a great opportunity for community collaboration, so I think it is important, even though we're going through these challenging times, that we create pathways for that to happen robustly. And it's about time we had a bit more outdoor quality spaces that facilitate educational outcomes as well as social outcomes for our community. So it's really pleasing to see that this is moving ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Sims. I'll go back to the mover, Deputy Mayor Thomas.
Thank you, Mayor. I do just actually have a question, if I may.
Yes.
Thank you. The report notes also that the council received funding through the major grants program for lights at the Glenorchy City Council.
Yep.
And I know also, whilst the funding may not go to council for this one, the Claremont Football Club also received major grant funding for projects, and also has received some community club grants as well. So I'm just wondering if council has been assisting the Claremont Football Club as well.
Certainly, I'll ask for the General Manager or the Manager of Property, Environment and Waste to answer that question.
I'll defer to the manager on that one, Mayor.
Thank you. Alex, are you with us?
Yes, through you, Mayor. So yes, we have been assisting, and we've currently just gone out to tender and awarded the contracts, or we're in the process of awarding a contract as we speak, and work should be underway within the next few weeks.
Thank you, Alex. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you. Could we, in the next report, could we have that money included as well, please?
Through you, Mayor. Yes, certainly.
Thank you.
Anything further, Deputy Mayor?
No, nothing further. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. I'll put the motion to the vote then. Please indicate for or against. Alderman Bull.
For.
Alderman Ryan.
For.
Alderman Dunsby.
For.
Alderman King.
For.
Deputy Mayor Thomas. Mayor Johnston for. Alderman Richardson. Alderman Fraser,
For.
Alderman Sims.
For.
Motion's carried unanimously. We'll move on to item 9, disposal of council land. Do I have someone to move this item for me, please?
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Seconded.
Alderman Sims.
Thank you, Alderman Sims. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to move the motion that we dispose of 5 parcels of council-owned land at various locations in Claremont, Glenorchy and Chigwell. We've had an extensive process that we've gone through under Section 178 of the Local Government Act to with our community on the proposed disposal of land, and I guess this is the last step in that process. Council have worked with people who have objected to the proposed disposal or expressed interest in the parcels of land, and I know the report also tells us that 2 other parcels of land at 15 Hexacombe Road, Grantham, and 9 Barclay Crescent, Ferradale, that was put up in the original report. 7 parcels of land for disposal. The consultation is still ongoing with the community, as there was some significant concerns and a number of people expressing concerns in relation to those particular parcels of land. So it's good that that council officers are having those sort of extensive consultations with our community on that, to help inform our decisions on those particular parcels. But the five parcels that we are considering tonight, previous, our fit for purpose assessments that have been undertaken in accordance with council's policy and process and disposal of land, has demonstrated that these parcels aren't providing significant benefit to our community at the moment, and by disposing of these parcels of land, council will have greater capacity to invest in open space within our municipality that can better serve our community. So I'm more than happy to proceed with this motion.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Thomas. I'll go around the table and ask if Alderman would like to speak on the item. Alderman Bull.
No, I'm fine, thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Bull. Alderman Ryan.
No, nothing to add.
Thank you, Alderman Ryan. Alderman Dunsby.
Nothing from me, thank you.
Thank you, Alderman King.
Just clarification, the disposal of land 345 leased, is that correct, rather than actually disposed of, just in case it confuses anyone?
That's correct, Alderman King. So disposal of land refers to sale, lease, gift, donate, or otherwise. So yes, it does cover leasing. That's correct.
Just knowing the community's confused, but yeah, no, that's fine.
It can be a bit confusing, but thank you for the clarification. Anything further you'd like to add, Alderman King?
No, that's good, thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Johnson, myself, nothing further to add there. Alderman Richardson.
Yes, I'd just like to say when the disposal of these properties first came to council, I had concerns regarding a couple of the properties, especially after residents had raised concerns with me. With respect to 14A Colson Street, I note that there were no objections received in the consultation process. And there is also an undertaking that council will fulfil the agreement to provide access to the primary school, which allays my concerns with that property. The report also reads that the sale of Bourneville Crescent will improve access to the foreshore, which is pleasing. And the other property I was concerned about was 345 Main Road, Glenorchy. And from the report, it reassures us that the space can be required and council needed to make changes to the Erg Road roundabout. And I also note that the attachment in the paper is that, as Alderman King mentioned, that the property is the lease, that which you've just confirmed for me. So I just wanted to add that. So I'm happy to support the recommendation.
Thank you very much, Alderman Richardson. Alderman Fraser.
No, nothing further to add.
Thank you, Alderman Sims.
No, not really. Just that it's something we've been looking at for quite a while now, and I understand the concerns of some of the representatives in regards to having land developed that's near them. It's an understandable concern. I am confident of the assessment that our officers have done, that they've been measured and balanced, that they've addressed a lot of those concerns as best as possible. And unfortunately, we must weigh it up, and we do need to utilise the land and make sure we're utilising it for the best purposes as well. So I appreciate all the work they've done and are pleased that we're finally moving forward to make this progress. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alderman Sims. And just for members of the public watching, just to note that in the council attachments are detailed the representations in their full as part of the council agenda as well. So aldermen have seen all those representations in full as well. I'll go back to the mover then. Deputy Mayor Thomas, anything further to add?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I did just have a question, or a couple of questions actually, so I should have asked them to start. I'll get the hang of this. So the cost, it talks about the cost of the disposal of land, and it cost $125,000 for real estate agencies, valuation fees, and other costs associated. I just want to confirm that $125,000 is for all 5 properties.
General Manager or the Manager of Property, Environment and Waste?
Mayor, I'll refer to the manager as well.
Through you, Mayor. Yes, so that would be for the entire lot there. So that's the costs associated with getting to the point where they've got the approvals and appropriate reports undertaken for sale. So that is the entire 5 lots.
Okay, thank you. And one other question. This will be the final step in the process from a council perspective. So we won't, as a council, be considering offers. As I understand it, the GM has the delegation to do that. But can we be informed of the outcome, and will the public also be informed of the outcome?
General Manager?
Yes, Mayor, that will certainly be updating all on the progress of these transactions as we move through. Noting also, of course, that there is still a right of appeal for submitters in relation to those properties to the Resource Management Planning Appeal Tribunal.
Thank you, General Manager. Any further, Deputy Mayor?
No, just in summary, I think it's important to note Alderman Sims' point as well that we do certainly respect people having the right to object and appreciate them telling us their thoughts. So in particular, for I know for one more there were 5 objections to this particular parcel of land, and so I think it's important to know their voices have been heard. Unfortunately, it's been sometimes the tough decisions we need to make where we must consider that I guess the greater good, the benefit for the broader community, and at the moment that these particular parcels of land aren't serving a broader portion of our community, and closing off them will have greater benefit for the broader community. So it is an important point, and as the General Manager said, we can still appeal to the Resource Management Planning Tribunal, and also there is that next stage in the process for any disposal takes place as well, which is important to note that people have been heard.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. I'll put the motion in. I'll go around the table if you can indicate your vote for or against. Alderman Bull.
For.
Alderman Ryan. Alderman Dunsby.
For.
Alderman King.
For.
Deputy Mayor Thomas. Mayor Johnston. For. Alderman Richardson.
For.
Alderman Fraser.
For.
And Alderman Sims.
For.
The motion's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Move on to item 10, disposal of council land, part of 671 Main Road, Berrydale. Do I have an alderman to move the recommendation, please? Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Seconded?
Alderman Bull.
Thank you, Alderman Bull. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I note
Yes, Alderman Fraser. I'm just confirming.
Yeah, so I won't vote or speak to it. That should be sufficient, correct?
I just need to double check. Do we need Alderman Fraser to actually leave the Teams meeting?
Mayor, it's
Jim
not
Richard?
a interest, so.
Thank you. Yep, so, yep.
Potential conflict of interest.
No problem at all. So we'll leave you in the meeting then, Alderman Fraser, but I will note on my sheet that you've declared a conflict of interest. So sorry. Deputy Mayor Thomas.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to move this motion. There has, as I said before, with the previous motion, likewise there's been significant consultation undertaken with the clubs, who are associated with this parcel of land. Recently, the manager of property and environment and I met with the clubs concerned to talk about their concerns, and we had a representative from Lona in attendance who allayed some of the club's concerns. So I'm involved and the BMX club in particular confirmed that they, as a club, they were supportive of the proposed relocation of the BMX club to Lacey Park. So, as we've noted before, the disposal of this land would not occur until the BMX club was relocated, and that still remains, which has been my primary concern throughout this process. So, no one will be negatively impacted by the outcome of anything the BMX club will be positively impacted by the move. So I'm more than happy to support this recommendation.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'll ask, have you got any questions at this stage?
No, thank you.
That's all right. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'll go around the table then and ask if Alderman would like to speak to the motion. Alderman Bull.
No, thank you.
Alderman Ryan?
No, thank you.
Alderman Dunsby?
Yes, through you, could I ask a question of the Deputy Mayor, please?
Yes, certainly.
Alderman, Deputy Mayor, you mentioned the meeting that you had and the miner in attendance and allayed some of the problems or things that may be perceived as an issue. Can you give us an outline of what some of those issues may have been?
Yeah, sure. Through you, Mayor, thank you for the question, Alderman Dunsby. I guess one of the concerns was in relation to potential creep, if you like, I guess, from Mona. You know, if they are looking to lease or purchase the land that is currently the BMX club, will they down the track be looking to go further and take over the land that is the bowls club and the tennis club? And certainly there was confirmation by the Mona representative that no, that wasn't an intention. And the reason for their interest in this parcel of land was really needing greater car parking and office space. They've currently got who are located around different parts of Hobart, and so they'd like to have more office space on site, I guess, or near site, near to where Mona is located. One of the other concerns was about what's the train of thought? Bear with me a second. Really lost my train of thought.
Sorry.
That's all right. That was one of the main ones, definitely, was the scope creep, fearing that, that they would be taken over. Another one was, which isn't necessarily related to Mona, was the three clubs there have a really good working relationship, and we've discussed this in previous meetings. That's not something that, that's something that can be really hard to achieve in sporting clubs around the same location, who share different facilities, and the bowls club and the tennis club and the BMX club have really developed a good relationship, and so I guess that the tennis club and the bowls club in particular would be sad to see the BMX club go, but sort of can see the potential for the BMX club and the improvement to their facilities should they be relocated. So they understand that. Oh, the other issue was that there was, it's just come back to me now, that there was some, misinformation and just communication and whilst we had discussions with Mona and we'd had discussions with the clubs, there hadn't been the opportunity for all three parties, I guess, to come together. And so, there was the clubs, when we met with them previously, had said, well, Mona had told us they don't want land. And that was different to what Mona had sort of said to us. So there was a bit of sort of he said, she said, and so we thought by getting everyone in the room together, it could be confirmed what the intention was and what they wanted to use for, and just have that clear. So that was really good to clarify that and have everyone hearing the same thing at the same time.
Thank you very much for clarifying that. It's really great to hear that we've got another group of sporting organisations working together, as we heard about earlier in the agenda. Nothing further from me.
Thank you, Alderman Dunsby. Alderman King.
Deputy Mayor's covered beautifully. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman King. Mayor Johnson, nothing further to add. Alderman Richardson.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I've got a couple of things. Firstly, the Berrinale Peninsula is a unique parcel of land. It's a pity that the draft master plan has not been finalised before making a decision as to the future of the land currently under consideration. If it was, it would give us a better understanding of the vision of the area. I'm just worried that this may be a cut for the horse moment, especially when the report goes on to read that the future use of the Berrinale Caravan Park shouldn't be considered until the master plan has been revisited. So my question here is, will the master plan be completed before the final decision is made about 671?
General Manager, or perhaps a Manager of Property?
Through you, Mayor, there is work to revive that process for the master plan for Berrinale Peninsula. Again, need the manager to just step in relation to the timing question.
Thank you, General Manager. Perhaps a Manager of Property, or maybe even the Director of Development and Strategy as well.
Through you, Mayor, this is Ted Ross, Director of Infrastructure and Work. It's our intention to work through and develop the master plan, but I guess for this parcel of land, it's more clearly identified the purpose of it and the especially the long-standing use by Mona currently for a car park, that we thought that the decision could be made on this one without having that full master plan. The other aspect of it is in respect to transferring the mountain bike park facility up to Salosa. What we have said is that prior to the moving of that mountain bike facility, we would need to have agreement in regards to the master plan around Salosa. We've also stated in the report there's various options in terms of leasing versus sale. So, one of the options, I guess, preferable options for the BMX land would be to, the plans on the BMX currently would be to lease that area rather than sale. And therefore, you're retaining that, you're not selling it forever in the day, so that you lose that as an open space. So the idea is that you're retaining it through having a lease rather than selling it. And as the report recommends, is that whatever we're doing, we're saying that we bring that decision back to council, so that the decision of actually what happens is not necessarily made today. The decision the intention is disposal, but the exact form of that disposal is brought back to council before a decision was made on that.
Thank you, Director. Anything further, Alderman Richardson?
Yeah, I realise that some of that land was to be released. It's just we would be better informed if we did have that over that big picture view of the peninsula when we make any sort of decision with land that sits on there. That's all. So it would have been nice to have that master plan finalised. And I realise that the final, after negotiations, it comes back to council. And it would be an advantage to have that finalised before we make any consideration about that land that adjoins it. So my second question was that council has undertaken to provide better BMX facilities than the club currently has. What is the latest position regarding negotiations with the club? Are they still happy with the prospect of being relocated with a new track and amenities? And can we have assurances that we will get the financial analysis of relocating the track before negotiations or decisions are decided regarding 671?
Perhaps the manager of property would like to speak to that one, as he's spoken directly with the BMX Club, and outline what's on the council agenda around that.
Through your head, Director, again, I'll answer this one. We have, as stated in the report, we've only had preliminary discussions with the Mount with the BMX club. Before, you've made it very clear in the agenda that we'd need to come to an agreement around not only what that facility looks like at Toloka, whether it fits on there, but also the financials. We've got to do more work in regards to that aspect of the project. What we have agreed with, and what everyone has agreed with the BMX facility, is that if it was to move, that the opportunity is to actually provide a BMX facility that meets the standards or the requirements of the day. And currently the one that buried up doesn't do that.
Thank you, Director. Anything further, Alderman Richardson?
Yeah, so does that mean that we will get the financials before any decision with 671?
General Manager?
Through your manager, yes, we will have those financial figures before any decisions made in regards to the scope.
Thank you very much.
Anything further, Alderman Richardson?
No, nothing more. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Fraser has declared a conflict of interest, so we'll go to Alderman Sims.
Yes. Look, I'd just like to recognise on behalf of the community that any change is difficult, especially when parties feel they're not in control or haven't been robustly consulted. In this case, I think that's how some of the representatives feel and stakeholders that are engaged in this process. It's great to see that a meeting has taken place where everyone was in the same room and they could collaborate. It might be arguably a bit late in the process than most would view as reasonable, but it has occurred, which is great. And we still have the opportunity to revisit and formally decide also. I also acknowledge Alderman Richardson's concerns around the master plan. I'm also big on planning. I think an hour in planning can save a year in the States, and we've really got to work towards that. I also understand we're in the real world, and we've picked up some work at a council that needed a lot of attention, and we're driving that parallel to a lot of other projects and other objectives. So that's just where we're at. We have to work with what we've got to a degree. We can't stall progress, which could also cause further loss. In this case, I'm confident that in regards to Mona and the current situation, it sits in line with our GPA requirements, as well as the community objectives and strategic plan. And I also think that the stipulation for further discussion in order to lead to an agreement that meets or supersedes their current standard at the track, and that everyone's involved, should help mitigate some of those issues. So I thank the officers for all the hard work that they're doing, and I hope that that consultation is as robust as it sounds, and that message is getting through for everyone, and everyone can compromise and meet in the middle. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Sims. I'll go back to the move for Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'll put the motion, then I'll go around the table if Alderman can indicate for or against. Alderman Bull.
For.
Alderman Ryan. Dunsby,
4.
Alderman King,
4.
Deputy Mayor Thomas,
4.
thank you, Deputy Mayor Thomas, Mayor Johnston 4, Alderman Richardson
4.
and Alderman Sims.
4.
Thank you very much. The motion is carried unanimously. We'll move on to item 11, which is a COVID-19 response status report, April 2020. Do I have someone to move this item, please? Just before we start, I should actually note, Alderman, that we have the recommendation contained in the report is to note the COVID-19 response status report for April 2020. The General Manager has advised that he would like, in addition to this, an inclusion of an authorisation. I'm just popping up on the screen as we speak here. So the recommendation is to 1, note the COVID-19 response status report for April 2020. 2, amend the remission or rebate of fees and charges policy to add an additional criteria under clause 1 to the following. D, due to a person suffering from genuine financial hardship as a result of COVID-19 crisis. And 3, to authorise the General Manager to exercise his delegated power under section 207 of the Local Government Act 1993 to remit all or part of any fee or charge paid or payable under Part 12, Division 7, fees and charges of the Act, where a person is suffering from genuine financial hardship as a result of the COVID-19 crisis. General Manager, before I ask for a move or a second to that, is there anything you'd like to add as qualified advice in regards to this change recommendation?
No, thanks, Mayor. Really, the intention of this is to operationalise our hardship response to COVID-19. So we've already got coverage in terms of the powers relating to rates, but there was a gap in terms of fees and charges. We want to make sure that any relief decisions that are made with the appropriate powers from Council.
Thank you, General Manager, and just confirming this is directly in response to the COVID-19 situation and the Council's ability to provide assistance to those who are particularly affected by the COVID-19 situation. That's correct?
Yes, that's right, ma'am.
Thank you very much, General Manager. So do I have someone to move the recommended motion that we have before us, noting that we now have the addition of clause 2 and 3? Do I have someone to move that, please?
Moved Alderman Dunsby.
Thank you, Alderman Dunsby. Seconded.
Alderman Ball.
Thank you very much. Alderman Dunsby, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, I'd like to thank the General Manager for putting together this comprehensive report, dealing with it on multiple fronts, not just with his own workforce, but on behalf of the whole community as well. I think anybody reading through that report will see the dynamics that have had to be addressed and will continue to move and change as we work our way through this unusual stage of our world at the moment. And I'm just now happy to open up for any discussion.
Thank you very much, Alderman Dunsby. I'll go around the table. Alderman Ball?
No, I'm for that, so nothing else to add. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Alderman Ryan?
No, nothing to add, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman King?
Yes, Mayor, just one question.
Yes.
The report, page 45, just under item 5, council officers wrote to grassroots community and supporting organisations on or about 10th of April 2020 advising that rental licence fees up to 30th of June 2020 will be waived, which is great, but what period does that go back to? I'd just like to clarify that.
General Manager?
Mayor, through you, Mayor, I was taking that discussion at the council meeting on the 30th of March. The intention was to cover any payments that haven't been yet received and will fall due between the consideration on the 30th of March and the end of the financial year, the current financial year.
Okay, do you think we should have that actually written in though?
So that was in relation to that decision was taken at the 30th of March council meeting, Alderman King. So it's the operationalisation of that particular decision at the 30th of March. So that isn't what is being discussed at the moment. Does that make sense? it's just an update on how that's been operationalised.
Yes and no, it's just my concern was that it had an end date, it didn't have a start date in the report.
General Manager, I think if I can get your advice on this, but I would understand that that would be an overturn of the decision of the previous council to put in a start date. My understanding would
We're
be.
going back, you know, some of the community can say we're going back 6 months, 12 months. That was my concern, just with the wording.
So I think the intention, also I think it's important to note that the code for tenancies comes or may come into effect, I think, on Thursday, with the Parliament sitting to discuss this. So the waiving of lease costs for community organisations might be impacted by that, General Manager, too, if I understand correctly.
That's right, Mayor. I'm just trying to get the actual council report from the last council meeting. The intention clearly is for this to apply in respect of the current financial year, and we certainly were not seeking to well, what it's pretty clear from the decision that was made at the time was to waive rental instalments. The grassroots community and supporting class for the rest of 2019-20. So it's pretty clear, I think, on the face of it, that the rest of 2019-20 applies from the 30th of March 2020.
Okay, if you're happy with that, that's fine. I just found that was a little bit ambiguous just there in that today's report.
Thank you, Alderman. Anything further to add?
No, that's fine, thanks.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Thomas. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Alderman Richardson.
Nothing to add.
Thank you. Alderman Fraser.
No, nothing further.
And Alderman Sims.
Nothing further, thanks.
Thank you. I will speak to this particular motion, and just to acknowledge the work that our council has done over the last couple of months in response to the COVID-19 situation. It has been immense and enormous. It's certainly fair to say that we are doing some heavy lifting in terms of our financial assistance we're providing the community, and as indicated in the report at last council's meeting with our community interim package, we are providing immediate assistance for those people who are in need at the moment. That is impacting on our 19-20 budget, and of course when we move towards the 2021 budget, we are looking again at more significant assistance that we can provide to our community that's targeted to assist those who are doing it particularly tough. So our council continues to have a number of workshops where we're looking at how we can roll out that assistance in 2021, but obviously our budget decisions aren't made until a little later in the year. So as we move into the next couple of weeks, it's really critical that we understand what the impact might be. I think it's important for our community to note that our council's long-term financial management plan was estimating that we would have, or predicting that we would have, very small, modest surpluses moving forward over the next 10 financial years. Having said that, the impact of the COVID-19 situation on our 19-20 budget will mean that we will provide a deficit result at the end of this financial year, and then moving into the 2021 financial year, we're looking down the barrel at the moment of a deficit between $7 and $10 million. That is significant, but it is important that we are providing assistance to our community who need it most. There will be long-term impacts on council's financial sustainability moving across that 10-year projected period, but we will work hard to ensure that we continue to provide the important services that we do, and noting that we do provide essential service to our community. So flagging that we'll have some difficult discussions coming up in the next few weeks as we move into our budget period and considerations, but we are here to provide assistance to our community, and we will be doing the heavy lifting as far as our council is concerned and our bottom line is concerned. And I look forward to being able to announce later on in the year what the measures are we're taking for the 2021 year period. If there's nothing further, I will go back to the mover, who was Alderman Dunsby.
Nothing to add to that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Alderman Dunsby. I'll go and put the motion. I'll go around the table if you can indicate for or against. Alderman Bull.
For.
Alderman Ryan.
For.
Alderman Dunsby.
For.
Alderman King.
For.
Deputy Mayor Thomas. Mayor Johnston. For. Alderman Richardson.
For.
Alderman Fraser.
For.
Alderman Sims.
all.
Thank you. The motion is carried unanimously. So we'll move on to item 12, which is the treatment of historical unpaid infringements. Do I have someone to move this item, please?
Alderman Richardson.
Thank you, Alderman Richardson. Seconded.
Alderman Dunstan.
Thank you, Alderman Dunsby. Alderman Richardson.
Yes, the treatment of unpaid infringements. These unpaid infringements date back to 1996. So in the interest of financial and efficiency gains, it's logical to write off the infringements that aren't recoverable and to refine the process for those that are. So I'm happy to support that.
Thank you very much, Alderman Richardson. I'll go around the table and ask if Alderman would like to speak to the motion. Alderman Bull.
No further comment, thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Bull. Alderman Ryan. Do we have you, Alderman Ryan? You might be on mute there, Alderman Ryan. Alderman Ryan, can you hear me? I might come back to Alderman Ryan. She might be having trouble with the computer there. Alderman Dunsby.
Yes, thank you. Obviously, the amounts that relate to are not classed as income, which some people may see concerns about it, but until we've actually collected that money, it doesn't actually factor into our budgets as such. But obviously, having the processes and policies in place to make sure we don't get in this situation again is it'll be very comforting to know that that will be handled properly going forward. That's all I have to add.
Thank you, Alderman Dunsby. Alderman King.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, I think this is a comprehensive report with a future approach to overcome this happening, as Alderman Dunsby said, and we'll clean up what we can out of this and write off the lost revenue that's never going to be collected anyway, and stop having on the books and give us a false impression of what's available to us.
Thank you very much, Alderman King. Deputy Mayor Thomas.
Thanks, Mayor. It's never a nice thing to have to do to write off debt or write off unpaid infringement. From 2007 that have been paid as prior to the monetary penalty enforcement service coming into place, only to being established, providing a mechanism for debts to be chased up. We will be chasing up debts that are older than that, and as Alderman Dunstan said, importantly, we need policies and processes so that we have a centralised debt register across our different fees. I guess things that we incur fees for, and fines. So animal management, environmental health, building and plumbing, applications and permits. We'll have a centralised debt register and processes for all of those, as well as types of infringements. So that would be good, and also note the recommendation that council wants to investigate alternative selection processes and report back to council on that. So we're always good to see continuous improvement happening at council to avoid this happening again. I do have a question though. The report talks about the GM's delegation to write off debts less than $20,000 that are worth $20,000 per debt, and I know we talked about this in our workshop, and I thought that there was going to be a recommendation around that, but I can't see that in the final recommendation. So is that because that delegation, that power already exists to the general manager under the Local Government Act, so we don't need to endorse it officially?
General Manager or perhaps Manager of Finance and ICT?
Through you, Mayor, General Manager here. Yes, that's correct. So there was a recommendation draft report, but in my final review of the agenda, I felt it was unnecessary given that I already had that power.
Yeah, great, thank you.
Anything further, Deputy Mayor?
No, that's all, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Fraser.
No, nothing further, thanks.
Alderman Sims.
No, nothing further.
Thank you, Alderman Sims, and I'll try Alderman Ryan again. Alderman Ryan, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Thanks. No, nothing further. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll go back to the mover then, Alderman Richardson.
No, I'm happy to go to the vote.
Thank you, Alderman Richardson. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say for or against when I call your name out. Alderman Bull.
For.
Alderman Ryan.
For.
Alderman Dunsby.
For.
Alderman King.
For.
Deputy Mayor Thomas.
For.
Mayor Johnston for. Alderman Richardson.
For.
Alderman Fraser.
For.
And Alderman Sims.
For.
The motion is carried unanimously. We'll move on to item 13, the quarterly report for third quarter 2019-20. Do I have someone to move the item, please?
Alderman Richardson.
Thank you, Alderman Richardson. Seconded.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Alderman Richardson, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, no, I'm happy to take the report as read. I just have one question, and that's with the Capital Works Program. There are a series of projects that were delayed. Which ones were these? And is this the delay is solely due to the related to the C19 factor, or are there other issues with that?
Director of Infrastructure and Works.
Yeah, through you, Mayor. Yeah, there was a couple of delays. Some of them have been the Australian government grants, which were delayed, and those have been delayed due to some of the approvals that we've yet to obtain from the Australian government in regards to signing of the deeds. So we were unable to, as council, proceed with any works until the deeds have been signed. There are some other works that have been delayed because of access to materials. For example, the tennis lights out at Berrydale, those lights are having come from outside of Tasmania and have been delayed. Other works, like our work on some works at Toulouse, are relying on consultants from the mainland. Other aspects of some projects have been delayed because we haven't been able to engage with that community more fully, because we haven't been able to do the face-to-face, and we're working through that by looking at other mechanisms of engagement. So they're the types of delays that we've experienced. We're working hard to try and bring forward other projects to still stay on track in terms of delivering our budget, but we're just trying to flag at the moment that we're doing everything in our power, but we can still not meet the budget because of some of those delays.
Thank you, Director. Anything further there, Alderman Richardson?
No, okay. Thank you for the information.
Thank you, Alderman Richardson. I'll go around the table. Alderman Bull, would you like to speak to the motion?
No, thank you.
Alderman Ryan?
No, nothing further.
Thank you, Alderman Dunsby.
Yes, a question through you to the Director, if I may.
Yes, certainly, Alderman Dunsby.
You just mentioned in your overview there Toulouse. Is that relating to Toulouse Dam or other works to do with Toulouse Street?
Director.
Through you, Mayor, that's relation to the Toulouse Dam decommissioning.
And so where are we sitting with that in relation to the potential with a partnership arrangement with Mona? Would that change the view of how that project may look?
General Manager, yes.
If I jump in now, we've got we've got an briefing from Taswater happening tomorrow, and we expect to get further a greater understanding of where the decommissioning works might sit within Taswater's capital works program, given the significant assistance that Taswater is going to be required to provide to the Tasmanian community in terms of its restraint on increases in fees and charges. So that's one element that's going to affect the decontamination, and I think certainly in terms of the Mona Hotel at the moment, we understand that has been deferred. So again, there's some uncertainty around any potential fuel that might be coming from that source.
Thank you, General Manager, and it's certainly the General Manager my intention after that meeting tomorrow, which is I think tomorrow morning at 10:30, provide Alderman with an update of the outcome, because the meeting will be discussing how that will impact on the owners, shareholders.
Thank you. Yes, one of my concerns that was coming up there is that we have delayed the implementation of the funding for Caswood for quite some time. I'd hate to think because of the delay we then lose their support for this particular project. So I'll certainly look forward to that update.
Thank you, Alderman Dunsby. Anything further you'd like to add?
No, thank you.
No. Alderman King.
No, thanks, Mayor. That's fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Thomas. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Thomas. Mayor Johnson, nothing further. Alderman Fraser.
No, nothing further.
Thank you, Alderman Sims.
No.
Thank you. I'll go back to the mover, Alderman Richardson.
Nothing further to add, Chair.
Thank you very much, Alderman Richardson. I'll put the motion if you can indicate for or against as I go around the table. Alderman Bull.
For.
Alderman Ryan.
For.
Alderman Dunsby.
For.
Alderman King.
For.
Deputy Mayor Thomas. Mayor Johnston for. Alderman Richardson.
For.
Alderman Fraser.
For.
Alderman Sims.
For.
Motion's carried unanimously. We'll move on again to item 14, which is Procurements and Contracts Monthly Report. Do I have someone to move the recommendation, please?
Alderman Dunsby.
Thank you, Alderman Dunsby. Seconded, please. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Alderman Dunsby.
Yes, second one. Report there, expenditure update in relation to G of the KG5 consultants. Do we have any further need for them to really know the report talks about not removing that reporting requirement, but is their engagement basically at an end on that particular project?
General Manager.
Through you, Mayor, my understanding is that it is practically at an end. We can't absolutely guarantee that there won't be any further expenditure whatsoever, but as it stands at this stage, we've only received a very small invoice for $572.52 in April of this year, and so there's still a significant gap between the council authorisation of up to $500,000 and the $417,000 that's been built to date. So our understanding is, given that the building has been practically completed, that any further invoices are likely to be very small in scale. If there are any exceptions to that, we will report to council.
Thank you.
Anything further, Alderman Dunsby?
No, thank you. Open up for discussion.
Thank you, Alderman Dunsby. Alderman Bull, would you like to speak to the motion, please?
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Bull. Alderman Ryan.
No, nothing to add.
Thank you, Alderman Ryan. Alderman King.
No, I'm fine. Thanks.
Deputy Mayor Thomas.
Yeah, I just have a question further to Alderman Dunsby's comments. The report talked about Spudgen and G being engaged for lease negotiations recently, and I wonder when council can expect an update on the lease, the status of the lease agreement.
General Manager.
Mayor, I'd like to defer to the Director or the Manager.
I'm the Director or the Manager.
Ted Ross, Director of Infrastructure Works, through you, Mayor. We're very close to agreement, and where Spudgen and G have been helping us out is their ongoing knowledge of the building and the facility. So we're unable to disengage with them as a consultant until we've fully completed that lease negotiation. Currently, we're very close to GDFC, which is finishing off some AV design and installation, and then we expect to be able to complete those lease in July this year. But in fact, we're quite happy with how the relationship's going. The GDFC are paying their rents, so for all intents and purposes, we're going along as if we have a lease. We just haven't finished the document.
Thank you, Director. Anything further, Deputy Mayor Thomas?
No, it just would be good at conversation to have a written update on where things ended up in this negotiation. It would be good to share as well.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Thomas. Alderman Richardson.
No, nothing. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Fraser.
No, nothing further.
Thank you, Alderman Fraser. Alderman Sims.
No, nothing to add, thanks.
Thank you, Alderman Sims. I'll go back to the mover, Alderman Dunsby.
Nothing further. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. Please indicate for or against. Alderman Bull.
For.
Alderman Ryan.
For.
Alderman Dunsby.
For.
Alderman King.
For.
Deputy Mayor Thomas. Mayor Johnston for. Alderman Richardson.
For.
Alderman Fraser.
For.
Alderman Sims.
For.
The motion is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. We'll move on then to item 15, notice of motion, questions on notice without notice. Do any alderman have any questions on notice of motion without notice?
Alderman Dunsby.
Alderman Dunsby, yes.
And my question is in relation to the FOGO opt-out policies and procedures.
Yes.
So people who already applied for a FOGO exemption are generally those who already undertake extensive environmental processes on their property to minimise waste, or who create very little waste of this kind. A resident who applies and is granted FOGO exemption may be subjected to random bin audits. A cursory check of the bin contents via the on-truck camera would reveal any significant contravention to the exemption criteria, such as pruning or leaf litter contained in the general waste, and I find that would be acceptable. However, more extensive orders that may involve the opening of bagged waste that is easily identifiable by the name and address supplied as part of the exemption process are, in my opinion, an extreme invasion of the privacy of that householder. Any FOGO contained in a bag situation is going to be extremely minimal. In contrast, people who have not applied for FOGO exemption and continue to place food organics in their general waste are not going to be put in this same discriminatory situation. Could members of the community please be assured that this level of bin audit will not be undertaken by Glenorchy City Council and the appropriate policy and procedures implemented?
Thank you, Alderman Dunsby. It's my understanding that we conduct bin audits on all our bins, both recycling, general waste and also FOGO, but we will take that question on notice and provide you with a detailed response. Are there any further questions on notice without notice or notice of motion without notice?
If I could just clarify that with you, Mayor, this is in relation to somebody who's applied for FOGO exemption and their name and address would be known, so their rubbish would not be in a general situation, it would be a specific situation.
Thank you for that clarification. We'll note that in the response to your question. Are there any further questions on notice without notice or notice of motion without notice? None further? I'll just check. No? I have someone then move that we go into closed council, please.
So move, Alderman Bull.
Moved Alderman King, seconded Alderman Bull. I'll put the motion. Please indicate for or against. Alderman Bull.
For.
Alderman Ryan.
For.
Alderman Dunsby.
For.
Alderman King.
For.
Deputy Mayor Thomas. Mayor Johnston for. Alderman Richardson.
For.
Alderman Fraser.
For.
And Alderman Sims.
For.
Thank you. That's unanimous. We'll move into closed council. Thank you very much to members of our community for tuning in to us on our Facebook Live council meeting. We look forward to either seeing you virtually at our May meeting or perhaps even in person here in council chambers. But please stay at home, stay safe and follow the rules. It helps to keep everyone in our community safe and sound. Thank you very much for joining us.